Is the US State Department going to use taxpayer funds for a massive purge of all immigrants in this country? Whew. Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this is The Breakdown. Make sure to hit that subscribe button right down there and subscribe to Legal AF to get all the updates on the foolishness happening out of this administration. So it's been released that there is a sweeping plan to revamp the State Department, and included in that plan would be the establishment of an Office of Remigration. Now, what's disturbing about this is that it's a term that became popular with the far-right activists in Europe and the white nationalists, read racists, who want the mass removal of immigrants. So this is part of a 100-page long notice from the State Department to Congress where this new office was proposed, and it's been viewed by a bunch of really well-respected resources. So we're 99% sure this is not fake news. So this document reportedly describes the Office of Remigration as a, quote, hub for immigration issues and repatriation tracking aimed at facilitating interagency coordinations on removals/repatriations. It also details how some of the State Department funds will be used to advance the, again, quote unquote, voluntary return of migrants to their country of origin or legal status. So the underlying problem here is the term remigration. So it's basically a euphemism for ethnically cleansing non-white people from Western countries. That's how it's been used in the past, and that's how it's apparently being used now in the US context. Now, apparently, reimmigration is an immigration policy that's embraced by extremists, and it calls for the removal of all immigrants. Doesn't matter whether you had legal status, not legal status, whatever. All migrants, including quote-unquote non-assimilated citizens, with the goal of creating white ethno-states in Western countries. So basically, this is a ploy to get an all-white country. Again, that's how it's used in Europe. That's how it's been used in other contexts. And now it has reared its ugly head in the US context. So it's previously been promoted by Germany's far-right party, as well as Austria's far-right Freedom Party. And the term is very much rooted in the premise of forcibly deporting non-white people from Europe, regardless of citizenship status. And this is according to the Global Project Against Hate and Extremism. And so, for instance, the Freedom Party has backed remigration of uninvited foreigners with the goal of promoting a more homogeneous country. What do you think that means? And so also, it's a term that this current president and his senior, highly racist advisor, Stephen Miller, have used before. The president wrote back in last September on Truth Social that he was going to, quote unquote, return Kamala's illegal migrants to their home countries, also known as remigration, and that he was going to save our cities. Yeah, right, whatever. And of course, Stephen Miller, ever the bootlicker, had to throw in his 2 cents, which said that the president's plan to end the invasion of small town America, remigration. Now, remember, this is the same dude who used the term cosmopolitan basically as a slur. Like if you went to an Ivy League school or a good school and you lived in a city area, you were cosmopolitan and therefore almost like not American. Yeah, look that one up. So here's the reality behind all of this. First off, the whole idea of remigration is usually used in conjunction with the Great Replacement Theory. And if y'all haven't heard of that, again, another thing you need to check out, because it is the whole theory that claims that elites are trying to displace white people with people of color in Western countries. So far-right leaders believe the answer to this supposed horrible threat is to remove immigrants and people of color, full stop. All of them. Every single one. Yeah. I know. It sounds so incredibly insane, and for the longest time, this is something that's been hanging out on the fringes. But now it's finding a more mainstream home in this administration, as well as, sadly, a lot of countries in Europe that are now starting to see a swing towards rightward politics. So you're seeing more and more quote unquote conservative or right leaning leaders starting to get elected in Europe. So you could think of the country of Poland, the country of Georgia. They've both elected some very right wing folks, and that's kind of continuing throughout Europe. So while all of that is percolating, we have that here. And apparently this administration is taking the worst that you can get from Europe and bringing that thought process here. Now, here's another little tidbit about the whole idea of self-deporting. So this administration has talked a lot about, migrants are going to self-deport, undocumented immigrants are going to self-deport, they're going to get $1,000, it's going to be great, they're going to go back home, and that's another way to address our issue at the border. Well, here's the reality behind self-deporting. More than 10,000 people, virtually all of them from Venezuela, have taken boats from Panama to Colombia since January. And this is according to Panamanian officials. And so basically, and more folks are setting out each week. That's pretty much the only real number we have around how many people have chosen to self-deport. Because again, if you're not documented, it's not like you're going to a central place and saying, hi, I'd like to self-deport, please give me $1,000 and let's go. You would think it could be tracked through the payments, but I got questions whether or not anybody ever received a payment or ever will. So there's that. So that 10,000 people reflects a microscopic number compared with the hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans who entered the US and Mexico in recent years. And of course, that doesn't encapsulate people from other countries that have come in recent years. Now, when you actually self-deport, it's not an easy process because remember, you may have sold everything that you owned to get here, and now you're going to turn around and go back. And it's not like you had a ton of money or anything like that. Many of these migrants who've come are completely impoverished. They're indebted to the people who got them there. Read traffickers, unfortunately. And a lot of them lack travel documents because when you think about the path they had to use to get here, they're going through jungle, they're going through water, they're on boats, they're carrying all their belongings in a garbage bag in the hopes of not getting it wet. So it's very easy for things to get lost. You're sleeping rough, you're sleeping on the ground, you're sleeping in a tent, you're sleeping wherever you can. And of course, there's other people that'll be in that camp that have evil intentions. So they'll take your stuff. So you may not even have travel documents to be able to get back to where you're trying to go. Venezuelans especially have a problem because their government is going to be hella pissed that they left Venezuela to go to the US. And they're like, oh, you're back now? They're not going to try and give them anything or help them out or anything along those lines. And it costs thousands of dollars to get here. You have to basically pay someone to get you across the borders, right? You need to be able to, you're taking a boat, well, you got to pay to get on the boat. They're not taking you for free. If you're walking through the Darien Gap, there are guides, but you got to pay them. Many of the little towns that you stop at along the way in trying to get to the border, those towns are run by criminal entities, by gangs. So they're basically looking to extort you for every little penny you have just for a bottle of water, just for a scrap of food, just for a little corner to sleep in. Like, this is inhumane conditions that people are facing just to get here. So they're in the hole a ton of money just getting here. And if they weren't able to work or weren't able to really do anything, or even if they were working and they were living hand to mouth, where's the money going to come from for them to get back and get back safely? It's not like they are basically self-deporting and they're getting a plane ticket and $1,000, right? And I'm not advocating for this, but at least it'll be a bit more logical if you're giving people aid to be able to get back there. But to say, here's $1,000, now cross the Darien Gap, cross the jungle and get back to where you came from. Yeah, not making a whole lot of sense. Not a humane thing to do. And at the end of the day, does not address the issue. So here we are again with more insane racist foolishness going on. And we're also seeing what the underlying plan is here. It really isn't about securing the border. If you still have that illusion, unfortunately, I don't think you've been watching what's going on. This is not about securing the border. This is a way to start purging this country. Yeah, all of the horrible movies we've seen on, streaming services and all of that about a purge and this and that. This is real time what they're trying to make happen here. This was in Project 2025, by the way. So this is not like it's some secret and this is now, oh my gosh, where did this come from? This was always the plan all along. And sadly, it's the son of immigrants, Marco Rubio, descendant of immigrants from Cuba, who is pushing all of this forward. So he is persona non grata in many places here in Florida, especially in Miami with huge immigrant populations, because they're like, dude, you're a sellout. So here we are. So I'll keep you posted if any of this moves forward. Again, are they going to be able to implement it? We don't know. But again, just be on alert. I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this was The Breakdown. Don't forget to subscribe and take care.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.